You must be thirsty. I mean, you were brined for like a century, and there's salt in brine, right? So you must be pretty parched, to say the least. Can I get you something to drink? Macadamia milk, or there's cashew milk. I got pea milk. They're milking peas now. They're milking everything these days, dude. You name it, they're milking it. I got mint tea. I have kombucha. Kombucha? Yeah. It's fermented stuff, honestly. I don't even know. Tastes nasty, but it's very healthy. Would you like some? He's fine. They inject drink into my arm in hospital. I'm fine. Fair enough.
That was a clip from An American Pickle, and I am joined by both of its stars, Seth Rogen and Seth Rogen.
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm very well, man. Where do we find you at the moment? You look like you're in a log cabin of some kind.
I'm in Los Angeles at my home.
Nice. All right. Well, I guess that's kind of where we all are, right?
Yeah.
So this movie of yours has quite the premise, man. For our listeners who are yet to see it, it's going to be HBO Max, right? Can you set it up for us?
Yeah, it's about an Eastern European Jewish immigrant who comes from the old country of Schlupsk to America in 1919, where he falls in a vat of pickles for 100 years, where he is brined, and then he is unbrined in modern day New York, where he finds his only living heir is his great grandson Ben, and they're both 38 years old due to the brining, and he comes face to face with kind of his legacy and what his family became, and at the same time, this younger man Ben comes face to face with his past and
Sure.
things that maybe he's been trying to get away from.
Like kind of a hot tub brine machine, if you will.
Exactly.
Right. I know it was based on a short story, right? In the New Yorker.
Uh-huh.
Simon Rich, was it?
Yes, Simon Rich wrote it. Yeah.
Did you stumble across it? Did he come to you? How did it come about?
Kind of all those things. I knew Simon from Saturday Night Live. He was a writer there and someone I had worked closely with my times hosting there, and I always thought he was very talented. And actually, as he was writing the short story, he said that he pictured it as a movie with me in it, playing both roles basically. And so we met eventually and talked about it and worked on developing it into a screenplay over the course of probably 5 or 6 years, basically.
Wow.
And yeah, it takes a long time to write a movie this strange.
And the both roles thing, that must have, I mean, I know you're a confident guy, but that's got to like put certain shivers up your spine because it's been done so many times so badly.
Yes. Yes. There was two things that honestly terrified me. Playing a character with like a thick accent and just that was scary to me. And then also playing two roles was like two of the most terrifying things for me personally I could have done as an actor simultaneously, which was kind of one of the reasons I wanted to do it, honestly, is I was just really scared of doing it. And the only reason that I could think not to do it was that I was scared of doing it. And I thought I could do it. I just was honestly afraid of maybe how it would come off or how I would be perceived. So, but I thought it would help the narrative of the film, honestly. I thought it would help the themes and the story. Like, to me, again, like the inseparability we have from our past is kind of a big element in the movie. And I thought, like nothing really illustrates that better than like looking a lot like this person who you could not relate to less in some ways,
Yeah, I remember the first time I went to Jamaica, where my family is from. We went traveling around trying to meet some other members of my mum's family, put the ancestry together, and we bumped into someone who lived in a rural village in the middle of nowhere, who looked the spitting image of my mum, and it freaked me out. It does happen.
It's crazy, yeah.
Listen, I heard the beard was real.
Yes.
The beard was real. So talk me through the timings of like, how the hell did you do this, man?
We basically shot the entire movie as Herschel, the older character, and then
Right.
I shaved, and then we kind of like doubled back and shot the whole movie again as the other character.
And I mean, so who you were working alongside a stand-in? Was it the same stand-in?
Yes, this guy Ian, who was fantastic, and he wasn't there. He was always there, but sometimes there would be nobody. Sometimes there'd be like a tennis ball. Sometimes there'd be a
Oh,
series
really?
of X's that I'd be looking at. We used different techniques almost every scene. We kind of didn't settle into any one way of doing it because we wanted it to just whatever suited the scene the best because we really wanted it to seem seamless. And the movie has such a crazy plot that like beyond that we didn't want there to be any like suspension of disbelief required from the audience,
Yeah.
and so to me fake beards just don't look very good in films, and I feel like you can
Agreed.
always tell just like a little tiny bit, like there's just like
I couldn't agree more. I
Yeah,
watched a
and-
movie called The Iceman once with Michael Shannon, who's one of the greatest actors,
Yes.
one of my favorite actors. But I could not stop looking at that tash, man. All the
No,
way through.
I know the film you're talking about. And like, yeah, and so that, yeah, it was a really complicated result to a very simple decision, which was just, I don't
Right.
think fake beards look good. So how do we film the movie where no fake beard is ever used?
So the more, maybe I'm wrong here, but the more emotional scenes, because there are some really touching scenes. I'm guessing those were with a person rather than a tennis ball.
Not always, honestly.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Sometimes, like it was honestly whatever suited the filming the best, not the emotional performance. So that was always the thing that kind of,
Right,
and
so
then
technicality.
I would have to rise to the occasion of whatever the circumstance was. But truthfully, it was just so logistically complicated that whatever made it look the most seamless was how we had to film it. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, you put yourself out there on this one. I mean, you faced some fears from a performance point of view that I have to say I'm pretty impressed with. For me, Ben felt like the straight man almost, and Herschel felt like the guy who was delivering a lot of the laughs. I just wondered, like, which character did you relate to more from a Seth Rogen point of view, if at all?
I'd say neither of them are like me at all. I think the excitability and passion of Herschel is something I definitely relate to. I do find myself just, I'll be like, oh, I've been screaming at this person for the last minute, like that, and I'm not mad. I'm just trying to emphatically get a point across. So I think that element of Herschel is something that I highly relate to. But I think the themes on Ben's character side of things of kind of like not understanding really how to like, or just like being conflicted with your past and how you were raised and knowing that, your life is so much easier than your ancestors in some ways, but at the same time, everyone feels their own pain is the most painful. It's just human nature. So, how and how uncomfortable that is when you're like, oh, I'm going through something excruciating, even though on the grand scale of humans, no one would view it that way but me. And I think that's definitely something I relate to.
And also, I suppose, sort of gradually becoming agnostic without making a specific decision, really, about faith.
No,
Because I mean,
sure.
this is I've seen a lot of your work, a lot. I've been a big fan for a long time. And this is one of the most overtly Jewish stories I can remember you being a part of.
I passed in all my Jew cachet was cashed in.
It made me wonder. It made me wonder, like, did you feel an extra responsibility with taking something like that on? Or
I mean, it was something. We made a movie about cancer years ago, which was also like, I would say, yeah. So I think with that, what I learned more than anything is that if you really speak to your own personal experiences, it's a lot easier to take ownership over like a story, theme, or an idea. So like, that's what made it feel comfortable, I think, is like it really spoke to me and Simon specifically, like our own kind of grapple with our faith and our families, and knowing, that, to my grandmother who was born like fleeing Eastern Europe, like her Judaism was like a defining characteristic of hers. Like she didn't have the luxury of it being like one of several things about her up until she was much older. It really dictated the course of her life, up until a certain age. Whereas my Judaism, I've had the luxury of it being like one of several things about me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm Canadian, I am American, I'm Jewish, I'm a comedian. Like, it is something that is definitely a part of me and is inseparable from me, but it is not 100% definitive of my day-to-day experience, And I think that is something that Jewish people think about and is like a prevalent theme in my head, and also this idea that, like, I think because I wasn't raised religious, but I went to Jewish school and I learned tons about Judaism. I think there's a point where most people just kind of reject everything they were taught when they were a kid, and it's just like all of it was bad. And then as I've gotten older, there's things where I'm like, oh no, there's actually very like useful parts of Judaism, and even though I maybe don't believe like the literal
Oh yeah, big time.
elements of it, there are things, especially around death and grieving and things like that are very applicable to like my day-to-day life that actually make my life easier. So why wouldn't I do them? You know what I mean? And that's something that, was an idea that was important to me to try to like get into the movie in some way.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I remember I was raised by two atheists, and by the time I was 12, all I wanted to do was go to church.
Exactly. Yeah. It's whatever.
Let's see what's happening in there. I'm a band. I've just been reminded down the line that this movie is not just on HBO Max. This is coming out in cinemas as well. I'd forgotten about cinemas because it's been so long.
Yeah, me too. Be careful out there.
Yeah, be careful. Make sure you get down there and see this movie. I think I actually watched it last night with my 14-year-old daughter. I've been waiting for her to be able to watch a Seth Rogen movie because
this is an easy way in.
We accidentally watched the trailer for Sausage Party when she was 10, and that didn't go so well. But she loved it, and it made me think, apart from Green Hornet, I can't think of any PG-13 movies.
No, it's funny because like we kind of didn't envision it, and we were like a few weeks into filming the movie when we were like, I think this might be a PG-13 movie. Like, and it wasn't a mandate we were given, or it just like it kind of happened. And then as we kept filming, we're like, actually, like, it feels like maybe it should be, and it should have these themes about family. It's a family, it's a movie about family and about kind of intergenerational relationships. So wouldn't it be nice if people could watch it with their kids and not be horrified by what was going to happen on the screen?
Yeah, it felt like everybody could get something from it. I mean, to watch it with a person of a different generation like my daughter, and for her to enjoy it as much as me, I think is a great sign for you. My only complaint about the movie, Seth, is I'm a huge Succession fan. I could have used like 95% more Snook.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. I am too. Sarah's amazing. I met her on the Steve Jobs movie. We both we had a lot of downtime together, so we would hang out on set a lot. Yeah, she's amazing. I agree. I wish there was more Sarah Snook as well.
Incredible. Maybe next time. So listen, what's next for you now? Do we make plans anymore? I don't know.
I don't know. We're working. Luckily, we have a lot of scripts that we're writing, so that is something that we're able to do.
Good time to write, right?
It's a good time to write. But also weeks go by where the mere concept of writing seems appalling to me, and I'm really swinging between like intense productivity and like complete detachment from reality. So it's a good time.
I'm glad it's not just me. Hey Seth, thanks so much for taking the time out, man. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.